storm, not potential, it's coming. We've got a winter storm later this week coming for Wednesday and Thursday. We continue to watch the track of the low pressure to try to find out who has the best snow chances and who has the best ice chances. When you look closely at this map, the pink color shows you the ice, the dark blue colors, even some purple, show you the heaviest snow that's going to fall. But notice right in between this black line here, kind of a mix of ice, sleet, and snow. And notice the heart of this storm system comes right into northwest Arkansas and parts of the river valley. Guys, with this system, as it may shift north and south, that's what kind of these arrows are indicating. It may shift north and south a little bit, and that'll change how much ice or snow we get depending how much cold air moves in. But this one's gonna hit us. This one's not going to avoid us. We're right at the heart of this thing, and you head south of the pink and it's just rain and maybe even a few thunderstorms. But heavy ice, heavy snow is on the way. We're going to talk about some updates, what we're getting in from the National Weather Service, and also a few trends as we watch the cold front start to hit the northern plains in Canada. We're getting a couple systems ready, so we're just going to hold on tight here for a moment. We appreciate you guys logging in with us. I hope you enjoyed today. It was beautiful. I mean, we had 60s and 70s. 70s especially in eastern Oklahoma. I believe in Sallisaw we hit right about 70 degrees at 5 o'clock. It was a beautiful day. We had a lot of sun, but things are about to change here very quickly as the storm starts to move in and cold air starts to move in as well. So I'm getting a couple things ready. All right, I think we're good to go. This graphic is what we're probably going to lead with most of these nights as we're continuing to watch the path of this storm. Heavy snow off towards the north. In fact, the heaviest snow is likely to fall anywhere from northeast Oklahoma right into Missouri, into Illinois, and throughout much of the Great Lakes. In fact, a lot of folks in Missouri and Illinois and into Indiana and Ohio are going to pick up 1 to 2 feet, even sometimes close to 3 feet of snow. This is a big storm system. This is likely going to be the biggest storm system for the central United States for this winter season. It's the time for it, late January into early February. The ice, though, is right over eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas, and for much of northern Arkansas too, and then headed right towards the Ohio River, towards Louisville, parts of southern Illinois. A lot of us will try to get close to a ½ inch of ice. Things are going to get slick. But let's specifically talk about ice here in Arkansas. This map shows you several different shades of pinks and purples. The dark purple indicates the most significant ice. And look where that is, right in the Boston Mountains in the higher terrain areas, just south of Mountain Home, Harrison, and in parts of northeast Arkansas as well, kind of clip in parts of Missouri too, and then eventually it'll probably stretch off towards the east, towards Ohio. But if we zoom in a little bit closer, a lot of us in northwest Arkansas, from about Johnson, Springdale, north into Rogers and parts of Bentonville, there's a good chance for a ½ inch of ice. If you've been following us the past couple of days, these ice amounts are just slightly less because this colder storm system may switch us over from ice to sleet and snow faster. That means more snow. We'll have that snowfall forecast in just a moment. But I think it's going to be very difficult on I-49 and US 71 to be traveling late Wednesday night and, to be honest, all of Thursday. Very tricky going through the mountains. On the south side of the hill, south of Mountainburg and south of Alma, Van Buren, Fort Smith, west towards Sallisaw, Clarksville, also right along I-40, we're expecting about a ½ inch of ice. That settles south into Hackett and Mansfield, Greenwood, you're included, Poteau, most of LaFleur County also included in this ½ inch of ice. You go a little bit farther south, maybe about a 1/10 of an inch of ice. But I think everyone in western Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma will get some ice. That's our first big threat. Before then, we're just talking about rain showers. In fact, we'll show you the forecast here in a moment, but we've got rain showers coming in for Tuesday, most of Wednesday. The big question is, when do we switch over from rain to ice Wednesday evening? The faster we can do that, the more ice it's going to be possible. And we need a few hours of ice to really kind of build up a layer. Not that we need it, but just from an atmospheric standpoint, you're going to need some ice for a while to really build up that later. And so far, it looks like it. I think in northwest Arkansas, we'll make that transition right around sunset Wednesday evening. If you have to travel after sunset Wednesday night and into Thursday, it's going to get very tricky. Make sure you stay advised. Went ahead and checked our vehicles, make sure we got our vehicle kits ready to go, full tanks of gas. Anytime we go to the grocery store or anything like that, just go ahead and fill up. Might as well just keep the gas tanks full. Might be a good idea as well. It's going to be very tricky to head out, especially on Thursday. We're going to have ice accumulating Wednesday night and into Thursday morning. Thursday morning is going to be very tricky across western Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma, but especially in the mountains, it's going to get tough. All right, A lot of questions have been about how will this ice event compare to 2009 and the year 2000. Remember, 2009 really hit Northwest. The year 2000 really hit the river valley. Well, in both those events, we were closer to 1.5 inches of ice. Remember the impacts. We had power outages. I mean, everyone had different power outages, but a lot of them lasted for up to a week, sometimes even a couple weeks. We're not probably going to get to that level. There may be changes in the storm track. If this thing starts to look a little bit warmer, we may get a little less snow and get a little bit more ice. We'll continue to give you those updates throughout the week, but right now it's starting to shift a little bit more sleet and snow, but still good layer of ice kind of as that base foundation. We're talking about anywhere between 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of ice. What does that generally mean, especially with winds? 10 to 15 miles per hour. On average, we can get about power outages, numerous power outages. Just be on the lookout. The power may go out with this one, lasting 1 to 2 days. Eventually, we'll warm things up. Probably by about the weekend, we'll be back into some 40s and sunshine. That'll help warm us up. The first day after the storm, Friday, probably not going to melt very much. It's going to be very cold. Wind chills also below 0. It's going to be chilly. So if we lose power, heating is going to be a big issue. Make sure you keep in touch with friends and family members, especially your elderly family members. Make sure they're going to be okay. It's going to get pretty chilly, but then we do warm up. There's 1 or 2 nights that we really got to be on the lookout for some of the cold air. Roads are likely to become very hazardous. A few of the side roads, even talking with the National Weather Service, with this amount of ice, may become impassable. But they're going to get very slick, and then tree limbs are likely to be damaged. We're not sure if huge branches will start to go down and huge trees will go down like those previous ice storms, 2000, 2009, but we're right in the middle, kind of leaning a little bit towards the heavy side if you kind of divide this thing directly in half, but we're likely to have those ice impacts. On top of that, snow is in the forecast. This is the thing that starts to go up. To be honest, we're going to get winter weather. If we can get more snow rather than ice, that's good news because there's not much you can do with ice. RDOT's already been talking with us today. They're going to be hitting the roads as hard as they can, but ice, that's hard. Who knows what's going to happen, right? But with our snow in Northwest Arkansas, we may pick up 4, 5, maybe even up to 6 inches of snow in Northwest. That's a good amount. Remember the past system that we had with snow? I mean, a lot of us got 3, 4 inches. We're probably going to beat that. In the River Valley, I think a lot of us will try to get at least a coating. And then closer to I-40 and closer to the foothills of the Boston Mountains, we'll probably get 1 to 2 inches of snow. That's on top of all the freezing rain that we're going to get. The reason why we're not getting snowfall totals, like you've probably seen your friends post on social media, how they're going to get 1 to 2, maybe up to 3 feet of snow. The reason why our snowfall totals aren't that high is because we have a lot of ice to deal with first, and then a lot of sleet. We can have a couple hours of sleet. So sleet's really weird to try to accumulate. You might get, the atmosphere puts out moisture and you get sleet, you get probably this much, but if it was snow, it would probably be this much. So sleet's difficult. Sleet will look like little ice pellets. Probably look like kind of like dipping dots or maybe even small little hailstones. That'll start to fill in. It's going to get very messy on the ground, and everyone's going to get something a little bit different. All right, so we talked about snow and how it may be a little bit more, but how much snow are we expecting? This is a wide view across Arkansas. A lot of us will try to at least get a dusting. Unless you're close to the Louisiana state line, we're getting a dusting anywhere from Texarkana, Hot Springs, northbound. Now for western Arkansas, a lot of us will try to pick at least up 1 inch or 2, see these lighter blue colors. Then you start to get into the dark blues and then purples and pinks, and that's where the snow will really ramp up. Notice how quickly the sharp change and contrast goes from, 1 to 2 inches up to 6 to 8 inches? Not very far. I mean, you're talking about an hour, hour and a half drive span if roads weren't bad and you're just cruising on I-49. We're expecting a lot of snow once you get from the mountains and northbound. Once you get towards Missouri, though, those snow chances really go up. Theirs are super high just because they're probably not going to get much ice. Most of the event, they're getting snow. But here's a wide view. If we zoom in just a little bit closer, let's go county by county. Let's start in the north. Benton County will likely be our snowiest county because we're farther north and we'll be able to get that transition over from ice to snow at a quicker pace. Bentonville, especially north side Bentonville, towards Gentry, Pea Ridge, Garfield, Bella Vista, north of Prairie Creek, we're likely to get maybe close to 6 inches. These numbers will change, I'll be honest. We'll continue to fluctuate them a little bit. We'll update them every morning, every afternoon, every night. So you can always log on to 5newsonline.com. Go to our website, go to the weather section. You'll see the updated snowfall maps and updated ice maps there for you. But a solid 4 inches is possible anywhere from West Fork and Winslow right into Greenland, Fayetteville, into Prairie Grove and Lincoln. Springdale also included Goshen. You're going to be included on this 4-incher as well. Washington County, I think a lot of us will try to get the 4-inch mark. Madison County, probably 4 inches. Now, higher up in the terrain, Boston Mountains just south of Huntsville, we could try to get a little bit more if we can switch it over faster. In Carroll County, we'll also probably get around 4 inches, give or take a couple inches. The farther north you go, closer to the state line, you start to get into that purple a little bit. We can see if we get a little bit more. Let's head south into the River Valley. We'll kind of go from north to south, east to, or west to east. For Sequoia County, I think a lot of us will try to get 2 inches. That's area wide. Also into Crawford County, once you start to slip out of the mountains and head farther south and kind of descend in elevation a little bit, about 2 inches expected at the moment. Franklin County, maybe about 2 inches. You head east towards Johnson County, just north of Clarksville, right into the foothills of the Boston Mountains towards the Strawberry Bluffs, about a 2-incher for us. You get closer to the Arkansas River, it may be 1 inch or so. From Clarksville to New Spadra, Paris, Boonville, Logan County, about 1 inch. Sebastian County, from about Fort Chaffee northbound into Fort Smith proper. And once you get towards Barling, 2 inches likely. You get closer to Greenwood, Hackett, Mansfield, 1 inch. Scott County, a good solid inch is possible for us in and around Waldron. And then the Fleur County, you go north of Kavanaugh, and maybe including Kavanaugh too. Kavanaugh northbound, 2 inches. So that includes Poteau, north to Shady Point, Panama, Spiro. You got the power plant there on the north side. And then Cameron included with that as well, Arcoma, 2 inches. And then you head south of Poteau towards Worcester and Heebner, maybe about 1 inch. But overall, what we get will fluctuate, and everyone's going to get something different. You can be, for example, in LaFleur County, 2 or 3 miles away from your friends or family members, and they're going to get something different. That's just how these systems go. So you got to keep that in mind when we're trying to talk about snowfall totals. They're difficult and they'll still fluctuate. But what we can expect is that we'll get a layer of ice to form first, and then on top of that we'll get a little bit of sleet, and then on top of that maybe a couple inches of snow. That'll get tricky too, especially untouched areas. There's going to be a layer of ice there, but we won't be able to see it, right? Because the snow will be on top. So be on lookout. There's going to be an icy layer pretty much area wide in western Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma. Winter storm watches are in effect all the way from North Texas, most of Oklahoma, most of northern half of Arkansas. That does include most of the River Valley, Missouri, into Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, all under these winter storm watches. This hole in the map, those are winter storm warnings that have already been posted. The heaviest snow for this system will be probably in Illinois, into Indiana, and the southern Great Lakes. But winter storm watches in effect here. What a winter storm watch means is that, hey, we're probably going to issue a winter storm warning. What a winter storm warning means, you've got heavy snow and ice impacts on the way. With cold temperatures, it's going to get tricky for travel. The watch just means, hey, we're too far out to issue the warning just yet. We issue the watch first, and then the National Weather Service will go ahead and flip that over to a warning closer to the event as we continue to fine-tune the data, because, you know, on the southern edge, on the fringe, we may add counties or subtract counties depending on how the forecast is looking. Logan County, Scott County will get you a little love if you want a warning or watch on you. We'll probably get winter weather advisories closer to the start of this event, but winter weather advisories aren't posted until maybe 24 hours before we start. It's Monday evening. We're really not expecting winter to take place until Wednesday evening. So we've got 48 hours to go before things really start to probably turn south in terms of the weather. But the winter storm watch, we're essentially watching up to a ½ inch of ice that could fall area wide, especially in the mountains. And then snowfall totals, I think a lot of us between 1 to 4 inches. We talked about that snowfall map. A few of us may try to get more, especially if you're north into parts of Benton County, also Delaware County, maybe closer to that 5 or 6 inch mark. But today it's been beautiful, right? It's what time is it? 7:12, I think I got on the clock there. It's still 60 right now in Fort Smith. We're cooling a little bit in the River Valley. We're not going to get all that cold tonight, though, because we've got that south wind. We're bringing more moisture in at the upper levels of the atmosphere and the surface, I guess, too, in order to basically prime the atmosphere ready for that winter weather. We've got to get the moisture back in here, and we're doing it. Can't really see it, but we're bringing in that moisture. be able to ring out in the terms of wintry weather later this week. Tomorrow, the rain starts to begin. In fact, the storm system technically begins tomorrow, but here at home, since we're well above freezing, I mean, in the morning, we're safe, right? Mid to upper 40s, 50s throughout the day. Rain's going to be likely. Nothing heavy, just some scattered showers. Recess, scattered showers, so be on the lookout for that for the kiddos. Headed home from practice, headed home from school, headed home from work. Scattered showers will be likely. Nothing too crazy. Let's walk through Futurecast, though, and then we'll go through some of your questions and kind of fine-tune the forecast. I know a lot of folks asked, what about my town? When? What about doctor's appointments? We'll go through some of that stuff. Here's a look at Futurecast. Tonight, we're fine, but the clouds will start to increase. Tomorrow morning will probably be mostly cloudy. And as you're waking up, I would check with meteorologist Tyler Moore. He'll help you get out the door tomorrow. He'll be tracking maybe a couple light showers. Those will start to increase and kind of just expand in their intensity and their coverage throughout the day. But overall, they're going to be light. We'll have some 40s and maybe some low 50s. But notice the time. Now we jump into Wednesday. Wednesday morning, I think we're okay. I mean, temperatures are warm enough. We'll be in the 40s. But later throughout the day, especially into the afternoon, here's 6 o'clock. We're just past sunset. We're going to watch temperatures continue to drop. These temperatures are actually a little bit touch warm. They'll be a little bit colder than this, but we'll watch that transition over to some freezing rain in northwest Arkansas right at sunset. We may be south or maybe okay south into the river valley. The mountains will get tricky, though, after sunset on Wednesday. And then slowly that colder air will eventually push south into the river valley, and we'll also have some freezing rain to start Thursday morning. But notice, northwest Arkansas, eventually we may switch over to some snow. The faster we can do that, the less ice, but the more snow that's going to be on the way. Thursday morning will be very difficult. I'd say if we had to pinpoint one time throughout this whole forecast where you really got to watch out, especially if you have to head out the door, that's going to be Thursday morning as we switch over from that ice to snow. More snow back off towards the west. And then throughout your Thursday, eventually I think everyone will turn over to at least some light snow. There could be a couple more rounds, though, that take place in Oklahoma. See, kind of there's this batch off towards the west. The clouds are probably going to lower a little bit and spit out flurries. Those will continue for Thursday. If we do get another band here on the backside, that could give us another couple inches. We'll just have to watch. We've really got to see what happens with the ice first and then the sleet. This is kind of after the fact on Thursday. The roads are going to be slick already. It doesn't really matter. We may add another inch or two on top of them, but it probably won't make much of a difference. That's why we've got red weather alerts. We don't do that very often for winter weather, but this system needs it just because we've got the potential to really make roads very hazardous, very dangerous as you're headed out the door Wednesday and Thursday. But the majority of your Wednesdays, we're waking up, you know, it's daylight hours. It's going to be okay, but it's as soon as the sun goes down, temperatures drop, and we've got that chance to switch from rain over to ice. We'll continue the ice in northwest Arkansas into Thursday morning as temperatures continue to drop. But here's what we're talking about. If we lose power Thursday, it's going to get really cold Thursday night into Friday morning. Our actual air temperatures will be in the single digits in northwest Arkansas. The wind chill will be below zero. So if we lose power, lose heat, you just want to make sure you check in on your family. It's going to get very cold. But the good news is it doesn't last forever. We probably got another cold night Friday into Saturday morning, but the wind will start to die down, so the wind chill won't be as bad. And then this weekend, we finally warm things back up into the 40s, get that sunshine back in here, and try to melt everything. Let's go through the river valley. Tomorrow we'll be in the 50s, and then we'll have that chance to drop temperatures throughout Wednesday and Thursday. Most of your Wednesday is just going to be rain. Probably not a big deal. It's really closer to late Wednesday night towards midnight. Early into Thursday morning is when we'll switch over to that ice. And then Thursday is just a very big travel issue day for us in the river valley. As soon as that colder air funnels its way through the Boston Mountains, it's go time for winter weather for us, and that'll last all Thursday. Clouds will eventually break on Friday a little bit for the afternoon. We'll have to probably wait for better sunshine towards the weekend. Now for the chill, our temperatures will be in the teens after this ice and snow, both Thursday night and Friday night. Our wind chills will be closer to the single digits. Still very cold, especially if we lose power. Very cold Friday night into Saturday, but then we try to warm things up. And on average, when we're talking about quarter of inch of ice to half inch of ice, our power outages are still kind of numerous in the numerous category. Not maybe everyone, but a lot of people probably will lose power on this one. That lasts for about 1 to 2 days when we're talking about the ice amounts that are so far in the forecast. So what? You add Thursday and Friday, by this weekend. If you're just looking at historical data, that's the best that we can do here at the moment. We've already talked with a lot of power utility companies and how they're preparing for this storm. Hopefully we can gain that power back easily for the weekend, lots of sun, and hopefully everything melts away. So it's going to get pretty tricky. Let me pull up your guys' questions and comments to see what is on your mind. I'll never tell you guys anything I wouldn't tell my own family. I just already called my family today. Let's let them, hey, it's going to get tricky as we go later into this week. We're personally keeping our vehicles gassed up. So even here after tonight, go ahead and stop at the gas station again. You know, it may only be a gallon or so, but might as well just keep it full. We even got some of those portable chargers, just the power banks, I guess you call them. So help keep devices kind of charged. But so just keep in mind what you got to do. Groceries, if you lose power, you got to think about what kind of groceries would work for you guys. That's kind of things that we were thinking throughout our own family. So just from my family to yours, is kind of what we've been talking about this week. But things are going to get tricky. I'm going to back up the forecast. There we go. Let me go back to the main map at the beginning. Heavy snow towards the north. Over a foot of snow for parts of Missouri, 1 to 2 feet into Illinois, and maybe even up to 3 feet where you see this purple color kind of showing up in parts of Ohio. We're likely to get a lot of ice first, and then we'll switch over to that sleet and to some of that snow. All right, Chris asked about Van Buren. Van Buren, we'll probably make that transition over to some ice very late Wednesday night, probably more early Thursday morning before the sun gets up. We'll have that chance to switch over to ice. Thursday looks very tricky in Van Buren, especially getting on the north side of town, towards the Lee Creek Reservoir. Things are going to get very slick for us later into the week. Like winter of 78, I don't know if we can beat that one, but this is a big one. Well, I guess it depends on where you are, right? Because some folks will get 1 to 2, maybe up to 3 feet of snow towards our north. We're not going to get those snowfall totals because we're just going to be warm for the start of this storm and get most of that sleet and ice first. Rihanna asked what are the chances for power outages in northwest Arkansas. Basically, it's a decent medium to high chance for a couple days. Of course, it depends on where you live. Everyone's on different networks. It gets so confusing when you look at some of these electric maps. But power outages will be likely. As soon as you start getting a 1/10 of an inch of ice to about 2/10 of an inch of ice, so 0.1 to 0.2, that's when power outages start to become possible. But when we're talking about 1/4 of an inch, so 0.25 to 0.5, power outages become more likely. But I don't think we're going to be like the 2000 or 2009 ice storm when we were without power for over a week, or sometimes folks were out for 2 weeks. I mean, that's insane. Those are storms we never forget. I'm not sure if we'll get to that level. I don't think we will. Of course, data may change, and we'll let you know if that starts to look to be the case. But be on the lookout for power outages temporarily across northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. Deidre is asking about Greenwood. We'll probably not get to ice really until very early Thursday morning. Your Wednesday may be okay. We'll continue to update you guys on that. Kyle Fields asked a really good question. What will the winds be like? Winds are so crucial when it comes to an ice forecast. Let me move the back up. All right. So with this scale, there's actually 2 parts to this scale. I just kind of ran out of room. The first part of this scale on what the ice impacts likely are really takes into consideration 2 factors. Number 1, how much ice? What's the radial inch? You look at a power line, how much extra inch is on that power line? Remember, a 1/2 inch of ice can add up 500 pounds on a power line. Usually ice makes tree branches and power lines 30 times heavier than they are. You know, if you add just even a 1/2 inch of ice, imagine putting 4, 5, 6 adults just kind of hanging from the line there, all that weight. That's why you get power outages just with a 1/2 inch of ice, and we're likely to be somewhere near that. But on top of how much ice you get, the winds are crucial too. Think about this. You can get an ice storm that only has, a trace to 0.1 inches of ice. Nothing crazy. Still, it's not fun. When you add winds over 30 miles per hour, 40 miles per hour, doesn't matter how much ice was on them. There's already enough ice. You add that wind and that blows it, kind of gives you extra weight, kind of knocks off more tree branches. You can still get a lot of power outages with a little ice, but a lot of wind. This system's kind of the flip-flop. We're talking about a decent amount of ice, and the wind's not too bad. They will be out there, and there will be a little bit of swaying, but I don't think it's going to be the biggest factor to produce the power outages, at least right now. You've got to probably increase your ice a little bit more because the winds aren't too bad. But great question coming in from Kyle. David asks about Poto. Let's see. Yeah, David asked about Podo. What can we expect? Kavanaugh Hill. I got my personal family, a lot of personal family in Podo too, so I was calling up earlier. I'm making sure on the ranch they're going to be okay. It's Thursday early morning when we really start to get things slick. I think Wednesday may slip by okay. Late after sunset, we'll switch over to some ice, and we'll keep that ice going. Corey Hill, biggest snowstorm in history, y'all. We'll have to see. Do you think travel will be bad from Fort Smith to Bentonville early Saturday morning? Great question. It really depends on how the roads are after the storm. Once we get towards Thursday night and we're wrapping things up, we'll take whatever the roads are doing. Yeah, there could be some refreezing overnight. That is a possibility. But at least we know what the roads are then, and then we can predict more towards this weekend. But it does look like towards the weekend we'll warm things up, and we should start to melt things. So I'm guessing most things should start to get a little bit better. But stay tuned on that one. Some of my family members had veterinarian appointments that they had, Thursday, especially ones that we can reschedule. I go ahead and reschedule before everyone else does. Boonville, we'll switch over to some of that ice by early Thursday morning. Some of the ice totals right now, if we go closer towards Logan County, maybe about 1/10 of an inch of ice to 1/4 of an inch of ice. It'll be a little bit less in Boonville at the moment. I think the worst stuff will be north towards the mountains. Mount Magazine's always fun, right? Because you could be in Paris and we may get up to 1/4 of an inch of ice, somewhere between 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch of ice. But on top of Mount Magazine, you can get a lot more. Same story on Kavanaugh Hill, Sugarloaf, Mount Magazine. You head north towards Kessler Mountain and throughout most of the Boston Mountains, the weather's just completely different. So our guess is about 1/2 inch, but I say in the mountains, it could get even worse for some folks. It's gonna be very tricky getting out of the mountains for the next couple of days. Southwest Arkansas, not much. Let me back this up. We may try to get a trace of an ice, pellet or two in as we go towards Red River, Texarkana. It'd be a little bit, but I think once the ice is over, we may get a quick burst of snow for a few flurries, but it's not going to be too bad in Southwest Arkansas. Same story just throughout southern Arkansas and towards the Mississippi River. You've got to be closer to Memphis, northbound to Jonesboro, to be able to get more of that ice and snow. Watching from California. That must be nice. Not much is going to happen unless you're up towards Lake Tahoe or something. You guys are good out west. So, let's see. Kramer, will travel be bad Wednesday night? Wednesday night looks tricky, especially in northwest Arkansas and in the mountains. Late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. So we're talking about what? 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. So if you want to consider that Wednesday night or Thursday morning, be my guess, whatever you'd like. But that's when things will start to get tricky in the River Valley at first, and then conditions will continue to deteriorate through the rest of the Thursday time frame. Court asks how much in Prairie Grove. We take a closer look at this map. Prairie Grove here in western Washington County, we're kind of on the edge between maybe 1/2 inch to 1/4 of an inch of ice. It's going to get slick, I should say, in Prairie Grove, right along Highway 62. From Farmington into Prairie Grove and Lincoln, be on the lookout for up to about 1/2 inch of ice. So one more time, let's go through county by county, ice and snow, and then we'll wrap things up. We'll continue to do these updates every evening. Maybe we can do more throughout the day when we get more data. We get a couple doses of some extra data throughout the day, and we'll continue to update you guys. But here's your ice accumulation from Wednesday late throughout all of Thursday. The heart of the ice will be in the Boston Mountains, so anywhere from northern Crawford County, northern Franklin County, northern Johnson County, once you go up in elevation, right into the heart of Madison County, Washington County, we'll try to get 1/2 inch of ice. That's probably where the worst ice is going to be. You travel on I-49 and US 71 later this week. Wednesday night and Thursday, it's going to get very tricky. Northwest Arkansas, a good 1/4 inch of ice. However, the ice amounts start to actually go less the farther north you go, because the farther north you go, the more snow we're going to get. So everyone's going to get a lot of winter weather, but we're trying to pinpoint which winter weather events are we going to get throughout the storm, kind of breaking it down a little bit. Now, throughout the River Valley, a 1/4 inch of ice, I think, for most of us. Anywhere from Clarksville west towards Charleston, Ozark, Fort Smith, Fort Chaffee, Greenwood, Van Buren. You go to Cedarville, Uniontown, Natural Dam, Salisaw south towards Podo, and maybe even Heavener. But south of Heavener, south of Lake Worcester, will be down to 1/10 of an inch of ice there in that brighter pink color. But we're right on the middle of the scale in terms of power outages, so we're likely to get a lot of power outages for maybe a couple days, but it's not going to be as bad as those 2009, 2000 ice storms. Here's a look at snowfall totals. Northwest Arkansas, we may get up to 6 inches for some of us. I think a lot of us would probably be closer to 4 inches. That's not nothing to, kind of excuse though, especially if you get a layer of ice and then maybe an inch of sleet and then add some snow on top of that. In the River Valley, we're expecting maybe an inch, maybe 2 inches of snow. Here's a statewide view of the snow. Central Arkansas, maybe a dusting or so. Less towards the south, probably nothing as you head towards the Louisiana state line. But right in the heart of the River Valley, a solid 1 to 2 inches will be possible. You go north into northwest Arkansas, you rise up in elevations on I-49, US 71. Anywhere from the Bobby Hopper Tunnel northbound, we've got a solid chance for 4 inches of ice in Washington County and Madison County. But you go even farther north, you go from Bentonville, right just north of Crystal Bridges into Bella Vista. You go Pea Ridge, Garfield towards the power plant. Westbound Decatur, Gentry, Gravette there on the new I-49 bypass, maybe even up to 6 inches. We'll continue to work on these numbers. They may fluctuate a little bit, but a decent amount of snow is coming into northwest Arkansas. That's after all the ice that we get. Guys, this is a good doozy of a storm that's coming in. So we're going to keep you advised throughout the rest of the week. We'll continue to give you updates. Let us know if you have any more questions. We have a full, actually there's 2 breakdowns on our website, to be honest. You go to the weather forecast. We've got always our normal forecast article. That's got a lot of good information. We have a separate article that is just kind of a huge breakdown of what you can expect. Northwest Arkansas, River Valley, Central Arkansas even included a little bit on it. And then talking about the timing, what's going to happen Wednesday night, Thursday. Make sure you check that out. That has everything right there for you guys. We're going to wrap this up. But that forecast article really has a lot. We'll continue to update both. So you go to the 5 News website. It should be one of the first things that pop up. If you have our 5 News app, just hit weather. Be right there. Probably sometimes you got to scroll down a little bit. Sometimes it's just past the Adventure Arkansas stuff. And then, which Michelle's been doing an awesome job, hasn't she? But then you get towards those articles there at the bottom that has additional weather articles. So we'll continue to keep you advised, keep you updated as this winter storm gets closer. This is a good one headed towards us. Will it be 2000 or 2009? Probably not. Main reason why? Ice plus snow is on the way.